ladies and gentlemen, we enter the final segment on this edition of In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, and a segment that goes back to the Tuesday following the national championship game, that being on January the 9th. We looked at Devonta Smith, Alabama freshman wide receiver, and how clutch he's been all year. Got a chance to dive into the relationship that is quarterbacks Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. And then also offensive coordinator Michael Locksley. Alabama promoting that man from a co-OC and wide receivers coach to the head offensive coordinator. And right now, to put a pretty little bow on this thing, we dive into who I think is going to be the leader on the defensive line next season, and somebody that NFL scouts, GMs, owners, coaches, analysts are going to have very high on draft boards, and that's none other than defensive end Raekwon Davis. Raekwon Davis, who received a key to his hometown of Meridian, Mississippi, following the national championship game. What a season this young man had in 2017. If you look at the measurables of Raekwon Davis, first off, the guy is 6'8", 306 pounds. He was a four-star in the 2016 signing class, one of the top defensive line prospects. And I remember, he learned a lot from Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah was a guy that kept telling Raekwon, don't talk so much. Just go out there and do it. We know you a dog. We know you're an athlete. We know you can go beast mode. Just go out there and do your thing and let your actions speak for itself on the field. Raekwon Davis took the lesson and made it known this season. This young man, 69 tackles, finished third on the team. First and foremost, very rarely does a defensive lineman rank among the top of his team in tackles. Very rarely. Linebackers will lead the team in tackles. You may have a couple of programs where a defensive back will lead the team in tackles, but it's very rare to see a defensive lineman among the top, among the leaders, definitely among the top 5 in tackles. Raekwon Davis, very active, 69 stops this year, third on the team, was second in tackles for loss with 10, and finished with a team high 8.5 sacks all over the field. And this production comes from a young man that took a bullet to his foot, got shot in the leg prior to the season starting, was on the west side of Tuscaloosa at Bar 17 during the summer. And I think he and a couple of friends were watching the Mayweather-McGregor fight. A little scuffle broke out and bullets went flying, and one caught Raekwon Davis in the leg. Of course, nobody fully knows the whole story behind the incident. But coming from somebody that got shot in the leg in the offseason, from that to the numbers he put up, Davis, very, very productive this past year. Also, with the amount of injuries Alabama had. And we're talking Deshaun Hand getting hurt, Trayvon Diggs getting hurt, Christian Miller, Terrell Lewis, Jamie Mosley, Anthony Jennings, Mack Wilson, Rashaan Evans, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Hootie Jones. With the amount of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the football that the Tide had to endure, for Davis to be one of the healthy ones and kept Alabama in the thick of everything speaks to his leadership, speaks to his character, speaks to his athletic ability. The guy can play ball. This past season, the Crimson Tide as a whole allowed 260.4 yards of total offense, 94.7 yards rushing allowed, and giving up 11.9 points per game. All three of those statistics, ranking first in the nation. In the college football playoff against both Clemson and Georgia, Raekwon Davis, 10 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and the big boy got hands. He and Daron Payne both recording an interception, which to my knowledge is going to be the next recruiting tool for Nick Saban. I mean, he's going to go out there now with the helicopter and recruiting a lot of these big 300-plus pound defensive linemen. The first thing he'll say is, look, we know you can 2-gap block and probably sack the quarterback, but do you got them hands, though? Can you get them interceptions, though? Can you get those picks? Because you saw what happened with Daron Payne. He's 6'2", 308. You saw what happened with Raekwon Davis, 6'8", 306. I mean, yeah, they big. They can sack the quarterback. They can stop the run, but they also got them hands, catching picks and touchdown passes. Can you do that? If you can do that, we can talk. We can have a conversation. We don't mind recruiting you. That might be the next tactic of Nick Saban. But as for next season, and especially with Daron Payne, Deshaun Hand, Josh Frazier, and Jamar King all pursuing professional careers, all gone, graduated, moving on, Raekwon Davis emerges to me as the leader on that defensive line. He emerges as both the vocal leader and more than likely also the leader by example. And seeing how he was able to perform in the playoff, NFL scouts, analysts, general managers, coaches are going to be looking at Raekwon Davis next season. I honestly believe he will be high on the big boards of Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Bucky Brooks, Mike Mayock, all of these guys who put out NFL mock drafts. Raekwon Davis should be high on those boards. Daron Payne is already pretty high on a couple of these boards. I know Todd McShay has him late first, early second round. Mel Kiper kind of the same thing. Have not seen Mike Mayock's board as of right now, but they all kind of have Daron Payne late first, early second round. I see Raekwon Davis going in the same direction. Why? Definitely can 2-gap, but his speed, his motor on the edge, getting to the quarterback, affecting the passing lane, and then also going back to the hands, his ability to adjust in the air, create those turnovers, get those negative plays, something that Nick Saban has been a stickler for his entire career. Raekwon Davis can do that. So very excited about this guy moving forward. I feel like he's got the ability to next year be very high on draft boards. And I mentioned in a couple of podcasts ago, if you haven't gotten a chance to hear that, subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. In my own words, the podcast, the archives there, as I talked about Davis being one of the elite pass rushers in the college football playoff. He did show up, he did show out, he did prove that point. But folks, it's been a great list of topics on this edition of the program. Once again, got a chance to talk about Devonta Smith and the clutchness or the clutch gene he had all season at wide receiver. We looked at the relationship, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts. A lot of people high on Tua to be the starting quarterback next season, especially coming up in spring ball, which starts in March. But hey, be something to keep your eye on. That'll be very interesting. Also, Michael Locksley, no longer the co-OC. He is the guy, offensive coordinator, promoted up by the Crimson Tide. And the next season, look for Raekwon Davis, 6'8", 306-pound beast, to be the leader on that defensive line and get some good looks in the draft moving forward in terms of next season. For all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith. You've been listening to In My Own Words, the podcast. Till next time, folks. So long, everybody. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.